Okay, well, thank you for coming and welcome to our next space here in Taylor Hall to talk about something that's been on the TV screens for a couple of weeks now. This internship informational meeting for public policy majors. So everyone here's a public policy major. If you're not, that's fine too. We'll share things in those today, but this is meant for public policy majors. Before I get into my slide deck, there's about 15 slides I want to go through, and we'll end with some Q&A. There are three other folks here that I wanted to just introduce. First off, Professor Gilmore, who's just asking questions, who's the Director of Public Policy Program, Professor of Economic Government and Public Policy. Then Professor Jen Meller, Economics and Public Policy and Director of the Schroeder Center for Health Policy. And Tanya Nations, who is the Director for Career Advising and Assessment. But more importantly for me is the intellectual lead for public service careers at Cohen Career Center. So she is my go-to person. Obviously, she has staff to help us as well. So after I go through the slide deck, I'm going to turn this over to Meller and Jen Meller and Tanya Nations in turn. They're actually on the slide for whatever things they want to present, and then we'll have some Q&A to end up. And I think that for us, and anything that's a PowerPoint presentation, this is truly meant to be an information meeting for us. I think the first of many, interchanges of information, not necessarily have many of these meetings at 5 o'clock. And we're excited about some of the things that we've been working on to have sort of an internship program for public policy majors. And on our website, there's already a full-blown web page with lots of details. So this is the operative information to have a first-time meeting, and the full details are already posted on our website. So with that in mind, so William Murray's Public Policy Program and the Schroeder Center for Health Policy, so Jen Meller and myself and others in our team, are implementing a new program. And our program, that how we see this, has sort of two prongs. One is to identify policy-related summer internships for undergraduate students, any undergraduate student, but mainly public policy students, and then so identify the basket of opportunities, some of which will be paid, some of which will be unpaid, and then secondly, to provide financial support for selected students who are considering unpaid or low-paid internships. So that's like a really exciting piece of it for us, I guess. But looking at those two things in part, first off, the identified piece or the funding piece. We are working on developing a public policy internship database, and there's several staff folks and colleagues, graduate students who are working on that. This policy internship database will be a password-protected online database accessible to public policy majors, and it is available to all public policy majors, sophomores, juniors, seniors, participating in career development program activities that we're going to be rolling out over the course of the year. Got some funny lettering things there. So internships, and so the content of that database is going to be divided, or Kelly Metcalf-Meese will be a name that you'll hear more of, but she's developing what she's thinking of as this portal, right? And the portal will have sort of two areas: internships with formal programs, some of which are paid or unpaid, but have formal structured programs. And then internships that we have been identifying through our own networks, through our alums and friends of William Murray Public Policy. And so while you have received some surveys this fall and emails associated with this meeting, we've been sending out surveys to alums and friends of the program, and literally 900 emails sent out, 11% response rate, which is actually pretty good to a huge email send out like that. So we're pretty excited about the volume of information that we're getting. And so once we'll get this portal available, just to have more resources for you to think about internship opportunities. Part of that talks about sort of career preparation, which is in part why I want someone from Cohen here, but I'm really thrilled that Tanya's able to speak for herself. But other opportunities that Cohen has available. But when I think about preparation for participation in an internship program that's through the department, we've been doing this for a long time with our master's students, and now extending it down to have the bachelor students engaged as well, is that there really are sort of three pieces of formal preparation. There's lots of other ways to prepare as well, but one, you need to have a good operative resume. And that is simply that template that then can be modified to the different opportunities that you're applying to. It's not one resume for everything, but this idea that you've actually thoughtfully gone through the process of developing a resume. Also the ability to have a cover letter and cover letter workshops, and then mock interviews, actually having to speak about yourself and about your opportunities and connecting those dots. So these links, which will be more helpful when you look at the slide deck online, link to the Cohen Center website pages that deal with these 3 topics. Some of them allow you to go through some self-assessments and all that, and others lead to actually meeting with career advisors over there and developing these 3 pieces. But we want everyone to have done some work in these 3 areas as we're heading to prepare to search for an internship and then be successful in getting one at the end of the day. So continuing this preparation for participation, one way to get this is to meet with a career counselor, which can be done either through individual appointments, or they have quick advising hours, which are like office hours for faculty, where it's accessible, and quick advising hours are either with Career Center staff or with the Career Center's executive partners. And so think about that. And if you have desire to actually go through a more formal training module versus the self-paced modules that are online, the Cohen Career Center has these crash courses, and the ones that are between now and mid-November, and mid-November is an important date for us, it's on the next slide. There are 3 of these crash courses. These are half-hour programs that are scheduled right at the lunch hour. They're either 12:30 to 1 or 1 to 1:30, so they really are a crash course. Tribe Careers is the portal to get on to search for jobs and internships. Cover letters and interviewing skills are seen there as well. So we want you to do some legwork to prepare to be successful in networking and seeking your internship. And then if you are prepared in the near term, which is less than a month from now, the Public Policy Board of Advisors is meeting here on campus November 15th. And the board luncheon is a networking luncheon for undergraduate majors to participate. And so I think of this as an interactive mock interview. I mean, we are going to prep our board members to ask the undergrads that are at their lunch tables to ask some probing questions, and that you should be prepared through some of this preparation that you've done, reflecting on your skill sets, what you've done so far, how you'd like to apply this in your internship or summer job next year. But there will be this opportunity to network with the board in small group settings, just round lunch tables. University Center at 12:30, that's a Friday, November 15th. The RSVP has already been sent out. Some folks have responded already. We'll send out a couple more announcements. Make sure as many people who want to participate can. But this is a business meeting, and it's not a mock interview, but a mock networking opportunity. Or someone said that we actually do have like lunch etiquette kinds of things. I mean, this is a great way of actually sort of testing some of the skill sets that you're trying to develop.
Can I interview you for just a moment?
Okay.
So just to tell you, the Board of Advisors are a group of William & Mary alumni who are very loyal to William & Mary. They love William & Mary and the public policy program. They provide financial support to the program, and they also provide advice and help in connections and all that. So they're an interesting group of people to meet because they are all professionals who work in public policy in William & Mary and other, and they really like to meet students and talk to students. And you can talk to them, and they can give you interesting advice and feedback. And so it's
yeah.
nice
And so in you RSVPing and us knowing which members of our board are coming to the meeting and what their areas of specialization will be, we will plant people at different tables so that we can have more productive conversations. So it isn't just simply a toss up a bag, and we're not going to allow a table of 6 or 8 to be all advisors and then all students over here. No, we're going to have like 2 advisors and fill in with students around the room. So part of participating in this kind of thing is, when we ask you what your interest areas are, whether they're field areas or location areas, sharing as truthfully and as fully as you can is helpful so that we can make those best matches, so that we can learn more about what your needs are and your interests are, and we can make those matches for you. But this is our near-term opportunity, why we wanted to do enough of our legwork to have this meeting tonight, to then have, that's only 3 weeks out, have you think about participating as we move forward. So that's the identify piece, at least the first pass of it, in terms of what we want to talk about tonight. But going back to this second slide, or the original slide of content, identify and then provide financial support. Because while we are really heartened by this volume of information that we've acquired from our alum network in terms of formal and informal programming, for many of us, myself included, when I was in college, I mean, I needed to make some money during the summertime, you know, and so the opportunity to take something that was simply unpaid would either mean I'd have a second job at Macy's or something, or not be able to take that opportunity. So the second piece is trying to provide financial support for selected students who are considering unpaid or low-paid positions. And so this is the new program that we're offering, this Public Policy Schroeder Center Fellowship Program for Internships. So that is the official program that we're launching. The fellowship in an amount of as much as $3,000 to support eligible, unpaid, or low-paid summer public policy internships, and there'll be the application process will include a budget and all that, so it's not a flat number for everything. It will depend upon what the opportunity is. And this is the Public Policy / Schroeder Center Fellowship Program. The Public Policy Program will support internships in all areas of public policy. And the Schroeder Center will support internships in the health policy field. So that's our new program, the Public Policy Schroeder Center Fellowships for Internships program. And so there's some student eligibility. The internship funding is available to students in what I think of as the summer between their junior and senior year, which we think is the most critical year to have a productive internship that will help launch you either into a graduate program or into your career at the other end of this. And so we are restricting this to the junior, senior summer. So that is defined as someone who has 90 credits at the end of their junior year, so you are fully able to be a rising senior. International students are welcome to participate as well. There are other rules that we need to think about with regard to eligibility and all that, but we are inclusive in here. Awards are limited to 1 per student, and that you have to have a minimum GPA of 2.75 to at time of application maintain good standing. And this is the overview of the eligibility. There on the website is a whole policy and procedures document that has a lot more details. But we're talking about juniors in good academic standing, and domestic or international. We're all starting this process together. There are some requirements for the internship. Internship supported under the fellowship program must involve substantive policy work, public policy work. And this is a real key feature. This is a program for public policy majors. We expect that public policy majors will have specific coursework that is supporting their ability to do policy internships, and that the internships are substantively policy work. So the formulation or the evaluation of policy or programs at all settings. So it's not local or state, but it's international, national, state, and local, and can take place across the spectrum of organizations, from government agencies, consulting firms, advocacy organizations, and others involved in public policy. It's very broad, but it's policy. It's not just generally, here's my summer internship and I'm a public policy major. So what do we think is a policy internship? Well, policy internships include these, not limited to these, but include things such as attending briefings and seminars where policies are discussed, assisted in research and writing of reports, issue briefs, etc. Doing quantitative and qualitative data gathering and analysis, program evaluation, cost-benefit analysis, or legal, legislative, and economic research. I mean, truly policy research, policy internships. Things that fall outside the scope of a policy internship, things like providing direct services to people, right? Political canvassing, fundraising, participation in virtual, independent, or unsupervised internships, working through a fee-based program, which I'm skeptical about that in many regards. I think many of the folks in the Cohen Center and your academic, your professors who are academic advisors will be skeptical on that as well. Working on campus on a research project, that's not a policy internship. and not working in a site owner managed by an intern's family member. So we're talking about stepping outside your box and getting professional experience in the policy world. The first piece, or the first maybe two pieces, might be something that people are thinking, I want to work for my member of Congress, and that's direct constituent services, and I might be doing a lot of political work. That is not seen as a policy internship. Okay, being in a member's office and getting a call from my mother who calls to say, I didn't get my social security check, can you help me track that down, is constituent services and does not qualify. Working for somebody in the political world, but working on a committee staff that's doing white papers on the background policy for changes in health legislation or environmental legislation, that's policy work. So it isn't work on Capitol Hill or in the political range, but doing canvassing, this coming summer, 2020, it's election year, right? There's going to be a lot of boots on the ground political work, not all of it's policy work. So we know how to thread that needle, but just think about what you're doing there. So again, these are for policy, public policy analysis kinds of internships. So what it can include, what we don't want to see to include, but what are the internship expectations? Again, there's more things that are on the website here, but we expect you to have a single internship that spans a minimum of 7 weeks. So we're not looking for a 2-week internship here and a 3-week internship here, sort of being a temp service around Capitol Hill or something like that, but one solid 7-week minimum experience so that you actually take a deep dive and actually bring something back of that professional experience. So full-time 7 weeks, those dates there are according to our calendar check, like the day after graduation and the day before you're due back. So that's like 14 weeks there. We're not expecting you to work that full-time 7-week period in that period of time. We expect that you complete an evaluation reflecting on your internship when you come back to school. I also expect to get an evaluation from your internship supervisor. And that you submit a 400-word reflective essay on your experience and a photograph and a short bio. We will be posting these on our website. And that if you are a recipient of the fellowship, which is not the whole body of folks here, people who use the portal, get a paid internship, they're not going to be part of the fellowship, so they won't have these requirements. But if you are part of the fellowship and get funding, we are expecting that you come back to this meeting next year, because we expect to learn from this year and continue into the coming years, and we'll want students to share who experience this work with the rising juniors next year. So there's an application process that starts up, and this application process mirrors a later slide, but mirrors the general views program that we have on campus is funding for unpaid internships. That's a later slide. But the application process will begin mid-March, ends April 15. And there's a list of items that are required here: statement of interest, your resume, an unofficial transcript, the internship posting, your budget, because that's going to reflect the actual amount of the award. You need to complete some IRS forms so that the money can be transferred to you, and proof of the internship opportunity. So you need to have an internship wrapped up and then participate in the application process. And there are more details on all of these items on the website. This is going to be a very fast turnaround, because if you win one of the fellowships, then you will need to be able to post the funding for the end of the school year. So you'll have the funding as you launch. So this is something you have to try to figure out bridge funding. And this is my second slide here, that what I already mentioned. There are other opportunities on campus to get funding for unpaid internships. And so while we are thinking that we're supporting the public policy field, the health policy field, if you get an internship that is a non-public policy internship, and that is what you really want to do, well, go and do that. And we'll still support you as your faculty in academic advising and all those other kinds of things. But there are other opportunities for that, and that's the general FUSE program, the funding for unpaid summer experiences, where there's a whole other broader basket of funding, and we're just trying to expand that umbrella with the public policy opportunities. And so this is my last slide, resources. So the full details are on the William & Mary Public Policy website. If you get the slide deck, you can just click on that. And there are, there's probably 20 pages of policies and procedures in different pockets there, so it's been fairly well articulated there. And if you have questions, public policy for me, Schroeder Center for Jen Miller, and the Cohen Center, Tanya Nations. But before I open up the floor to questions, I wanted to just pass this first to Professor Miller, and then to Ms. Nations for any comments that they want to add, and then we will just open up the floor to questions.
I just want to add a couple of things. I'll come over here so my voice gets captured by the recording, but also because I want to pull up a few websites. I have to figure out how to do that without disrupting the recording. Anyway, I'm Jen Miller. I'm an econ professor, also a public policy professor, and then I direct the Schroeder Center for Health Policy. The first thing I wanted to say was just to echo Elaine's enthusiasm for this internship program. We are all super excited to be kicking this off and developing this internship program this year. And we think both parts have value. We really hope we can make it easier for students to find internships and find a good match. And so that's what the portal will be. It'll be useful information for you. And the second piece we're super excited about too. And just to illustrate why, I wanted to say a little bit about what I think some of the benefits are to internships in case those aren't obvious to you. But what we really want is for you to take what you're learning here at William & Mary and build on it and add to it. And by being in an internship where you're interacting with individuals who've been in that profession, you can really grow your experiences. You can improve your writing, you can improve your communication skills, you can improve your ability to work in teams and solve complex problems. And that's what public policy is really all about. So we want to put you in places where you can do that, and the summer internships seem like a great opportunity to do that. We also want you to help improve how those places function. You know so much through your academic coursework here. You can really make that go to good use while you're working in an organization. And then thirdly, we want you to build your network. And by meeting people, even if there are other internships, but also career individuals, supervisors, people that you'll liaise with in these meetings that Elaine talked about, you'll just grow your network, and that's how you get a job. So I think there's so many benefits that we're looking at, and I wanted to make sure that they thought about that too.
Schroeder Center, I see
great.
There's a Facebook site on there. I didn't know what you wanted.
Oh, okay, thanks. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing I wanted to mention was a little bit about the Schroeder Center, and this is perhaps useful for those of you who are thinking about the health policy piece. If you're thinking about how you can prepare to be an applicant for a health policy internship, I wanted to mention a couple of courses that are coming up. So let's see if I can find a way to pull them up without, let's see. This is LTC. I should have gotten these URLs. Moment of truth. Okay. All right. So the first course that we're offering in the spring, and this is a great time to mention it because I know registration is around the corner. If you are interested in a health policy course, we've got 2 offerings, and this is the first time that we're offering 2 undergraduate courses in health policy. They're each a little different, so I'll tell you about them both. The first one is this 1 credit course called Private and Public Insurance for Long-Term Care. And it's a pass-fail class. It follows a really interesting model. If you register for this class, you'll spend a couple of intense Saturdays, sorry, but that's the best time to do it for our guests. You'll spend 2 intense Saturdays in Tyler, lunch provided, where you'll hear on one Saturday about industry issues in the long-term care insurance industry. why is it that people, so first, maybe you don't know what long-term care is, but long-term care is the kind of care that individuals need when they are suffering from disability and onset of aging. And we're not talking about medical care. We're talking about services and supports to help people with their daily lives. But it happens to be a really critical policy issue as we look forward to what is called the silver tsunami, this aging of American populations that's going to affect all of us, young and old people for sure, but young people as we try to figure out how to pay for the needs of this population and how to keep these programs working. So back to the course. One Saturday, you're going to hear from private industry experts about why people don't buy insurance to cover these kinds of services. And we've got speakers from Genworth Financial, from another group, Oliver Wyman. The business school is planning this Saturday, you can tell. The second Saturday is going to be the policy side. So we're going to hear from individuals who work in the policy world, namely the Medicaid program, which is a really important source of funding for healthcare and long-term care in the U.S. And we're going to hear about the issues that they deal with in trying to keep programs operating efficiently and where public policy analysis can improve that program. So that's one course I want to tell you about. I've got information I can share with you on that. That's the dates are all on this website. I can put around. You might be getting an email if you're a public policy major. You'll definitely be getting an email, maybe even tomorrow. But those dates are early in January. There's 2 longer Saturdays and a Friday in there as well. Okay, so the second course, back to my tricky links here. Fingers crossed. Okay, this one worked too. The second course I wanted to mention is a 3-credit. This is a pretty standard setup. It's 3-credit course. Instead of getting experts from the industry, you get me. But I'm going to teach a lot of topics that I've been teaching to our graduate students for a long time, and I'm going to deliver them to undergraduates to give you a sense of the U.S. healthcare policy sector. So it is a very complex system. It deals with long-standing issues. We have a whole history of policy attempts and experiments and failures and successes, and we'll try to make sense of the confusing landscape of U.S. health policy. So look for that. Both of these are 300-level courses that you can take with just Econ 101 as a prerequisite. Yeah, so then I was going to just mention 2 other things about the Schroeder Center. Okay, so I don't actually have a Facebook account, so you have to watch me do my do things the hard way. My luck ran out. Oh, I see. I'm just missing a. Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Great.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to tell you, if you are interested in other things that are happening at the Schroeder Center for students, in addition to offering courses, we bring experts in from time to time. And we have someone coming in November who may be of interest. He's an expert who's going to discuss pharmaceutical pricing issues. November 14th is the date, and we'll be blasting this around. But one way you can get information on that type of event at the Schroeder Center is to just like our Facebook page and follow us. And something to keep in mind, what we often publicize on the Facebook page to our contacts is other services that we provide students. So recently, for example, I gave a workshop on where to find data that you can use in econ projects or public policy projects. If you have to do an econometric project and you want to do something on health policy, I gave an overview of what data you could find, and I'm available to help with that. I'm meeting with some students after the workshop to offer some help. We also provide students with resources on if they've got a not now Facebook asks me every time. If you want what kinds of conferences you can go to share findings or interact on health policy, we also post a lot on that. So that's my brief blurb. Again, wanted to stress the benefits of internships and some ways that you could complement your William and Mary health policy experiences at Trope Center with the internships that hopefully you'll all apply for and get. So
Very good.
thanks.
Thank you. I'll add that for the immediate need that's coming up in November, resumes, David Trichler, we're partnering with him for a resume workshop on the 29th. So next week, I believe that's a Tuesday at 5:30. Need help there. If not, try to get in for a one-on-one appointment. We have more flex time now because that rush at the beginning of the fall semester is over. We'll be glad to work with you one-on-one. And if anyone wants business cards, that's something else that we offer when you're networking. So think about that. That's a service. They look sharp. When you're networking, it's a little less cumbersome than a resume, you know, in a lot of cases. But if a resume is required for this Board of Visitors event, please, by all means, follow the rules. When it comes to the Fuse funding, that Elaine mentioned, I was on the committee last year, and most of the questions can be answered by the website, the web pages on Cohen. Now, keep in mind, the contact hasn't been updated, nor have the dates. This is all 2019, spring 2019 information. They'll give you an idea, and it starts after spring break, and it runs for about a month into April, and that's when you'll know if you've gotten the funding. We gave out, or awarded, I should say, over $70,000 last year. And so, and it wasn't all the same amounts. In fact, one was just phenomenal. It was airplane ticket and everything to Nepal, where they had an internship abroad. And so what I'm saying is, if you know, sky's the limit, don't let that distract you from or detract from your application, thinking it's got to be domestic, local, and inexpensive, okay? If you've got a phenomenal experience, you know, list it and apply for it and try to get some of that paid for, because you don't want to pass that up. Now, I don't think they'll be doing public policy in Nepal that would qualify, but it is for all sorts of internships. And so I'll pause there. So we're ready to help you on the beginning, especially get ready for this Board of Visitors event. Don't forget your LinkedIn account. Remember that as well. We've got an extra resume workshop coming up, and we help prepare you. For those of us who are not on the committee, we'll help prepare you for the Fuse funding, which could be for any internship, policy included. Do you have questions about either sets of services? Yes.
What is the Fuse deadline?
It's usually about a month, 3 weeks to 4 weeks after it opens in March. Last year it opened on March 13th, and so it's mid-April when we set the deadline, and the turnaround for knowing when you're awarded is about a week. It's fairly quickly.
Okay.
Thank you. You're
And
welcome.
so the public policy fellowship opportunities is going to be put up on the Cohen website as well. It's also on our own website as part of just expanding the umbrella of opportunities for students in general. But just a couple of things that what you said made me think things that while our funding is limited to at $3,000 for any individual, part of the greater details that are on the website is that there are baskets of money that are for travel. So if you have an international internship, you could tap into the travel award basket for $1,500 for the airfare and tap into our basket for up to $3,000 for your living expenses and other activities. So even if you can, and we expect that if you're going to do something international, that you do tap into these international pots of money, because there are pots of money on campus explicitly for international internship opportunities. So that's travel, others living expenses.
And we have some of those listed on our Fuse page as well.
Yeah. And also, with the requirement of the resume, I don't expect that you bring a resume to the networking luncheon, okay? That would be really awkward, which went to the business card piece, but I want you to have gone through a resume so that you have actually thought about what you have done with the outward-looking face of how this could be applied to different professional opportunities. Because your job may have been managing a small boutique, but you had to manage people, you had to work with the public, you had to do inventories, and there's lots of things that the career folks will be able to let you take the skill sets that you've had and turn them into these more marketable skill sets. So I want you to have thought about what you've done before that lunch meeting, and that's why we're having the resume requirement. But we don't expect, and I really don't want you to bring resumes. What I do want you to do is get business cards, because a business card is much more valuable than a resume in any networking situation. And it's not that, truth be told, frankly, is that it's not that the other people want your business card so much, but when you give someone your business card, it's really socially awkward for them not to give you one of theirs, and that's what you want, right? You want their card. So by getting cards, you can do that card swap, and that gives you the ability to, a few days later, email them, and then 2 weeks later, email them when you have some new information to share. I mean, you can't be a stalker email person, but you know, when you have new things to share or develop that relationship and that networking. So having those business cards, spot on.
We make the business cards for the people that attend the Georgetown Fair, which is another opportunity. In 2020, it'll be on February 7th, which is a Friday. We provide transportation, and it's we're part of a consortium with Harvard and Yale, UVA, Swarthmore, Georgetown, several others. We get together, have a government education nonprofit fair. And so the chance to secure a policy internship is there. I've had several students walk out and say, I'm interviewed for an internship, you know, and then it ensued and they did the internship. So that's an opportunity in the spring, and over the winter break, if you can make it to Washington, look out for our announcement. Our trip this time will be, we just secured Brookings, and we're looking at the National Center for Policy Analysis. We're looking at that as well as our second stop, and so we might have a few places where you can join us, and if not, we'll have breakfast that morning with alumni. That's a great place to swap cards as well, okay? So I can make a sheet of cards. You can email me by November 8th. That'll be the Friday before the Board of Visitors event. I just extend it to this group, and I'll get the information from you when we email, okay? So again, my email address is tmnations@wm.edu.
Okay, so John, I wasn't aware, you had anything that you'd like to add at this point?
No.
Okay, then are there any questions? Go.
Would the portal be open to seniors graduating in May?
Yes, public policy majors will have access to the portal.
So I said internships for people who graduated from college can be great, because it's easier to get an internship than a job. If you get experience, listen to your resume, you learn lots of things. So if you don't have a job lined up, go for an internship.
When do they expect the database to be operational?
So the Kelly Metcalf-Meese and 2 graduate students are working on it. The goal is that we can have it operational sometime for the winter recess, when people have maybe some downtime. But if it's not ready by like December 15, it will be ready in early January. So we're thinking about that piece. And especially for the unpaid intern, and I don't think it's going to be a static document. So if we can get enough of the portal up and running, start working on things, then we'll open it up with the idea that you need to keep on looking back in for stuff, because the programs, the formal programs, many of which are paid, they already know what their deadlines are and those kinds of things. But we are now tasked with a lot of networking with the 100 folks who applied to our survey that said, yeah, we don't have a formal internship, but we'd be willing to work with you. I mean, that's going to do a lot of legwork on our part to like talk with these folks and craft something that we can then put on the portal. So it's going to be a rolling thing, but hopefully before the end of the semester, so that people can have time over the recess.
As a junior studying abroad in the spring, are there any opportunities that are unavailable? Like, are there any mandatory in-person interview things in the spring?
No, there's nothing that, so we and I've had experience with students over the years who are studying abroad during the junior year spring and are participating in some of our programs. So nothing is being structured that's going to preclude you from doing those things. And so we want you to be able to have more opportunities, not fewer. We'll support you on that. You may have to deal with communicating time zone wise. You know, if I have to call somebody and they're 12 hours behind me, we have to like negotiate, who's getting up at 6 a.m., who's staying late until 6 p.m. kind of thing, but that's doable. It's not a problem.
Are all the internships in the portal unpaid?
No. So there are two types of internships. There's like on slide 3 or 4, if you go back and look at them. One's with formal programs. Some of them are unpaid, some are not. And then there are ones that are not with a formal program, some of which would be paid, some of which would not be paid.
I have a question for you. Are those two health insurance or health policy classes, will they count as electives versus a policy major?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Perfect. Other questions?
The internship opportunities, are they only in Virginia or is
No.
it changing?
There, I mean, we surveyed you all ahead of sort of surveying the alums, and we do have a high geographic desire for DC, Richmond, and then scattershot all over. And we have a reply from our alums of what I think of as more mid-Atlantic, because I mean, I know people think of themselves as living in DC, but they actually commute to Baltimore on a daily basis, but that mid-Atlantic area, including Richmond, but also including like Hampton City, Norfolk, and all that. But then we have someone who's, and this is really more where we will send you some surveys to learn more about what you really want, because I have an alum who graduated about 15 years ago from the graduate program who's in San Francisco, and like once every 5 years, he is the perfect person for somebody who wants to be in the Bay Area. So I mean, we have these one-offs that are not necessarily going to be productive every year, but if we know that you actually want to be in Phoenix or in San Francisco or in some suburb of Boston, I mean, we do have enough connectivity. We know enough about what we want. And I mean, on the totally turning that upside down, while part of the parameters is not being at William & Mary doing research, it doesn't mean that you can't actually be in Williamsburg. There actually are really great opportunities here in Williamsburg. The city of Williamsburg has a really great government and professional staff who do wonderful work. James County has several departments that I would say I put in that category as well, not the whole piece there. Then we have several nonprofits in town that are actually nationally known nonprofits that are doing fabulous work. So if you have an apartment off campus and you're going to stay in Williamsburg, you're already paying that rent, there are opportunities that are here, just not doing research with faculty member. That's not the kind of thing.
Do you have any idea like what the fields of policy are going to be for the people who applied?
Yeah, so I mean, the staff who are working on these spreadsheets are, cross-tabbing them by location, by fields, and all that kind of stuff. And we have responses to like 20 different subfields of policy.
So we're trying to curate a bunch of internships, but there are also thousands and thousands of other internships out there, and help for those as well, and help you figure out which ones are good internships and which are not good internships. Sometimes just go off on their own aren't as good at identifying a great internship from a very lousy one.
But this whole issue of what's on the portal and what you're just saying now and all that is that, I mean, if you've been doing a lot of work with Cohen and you're on your own time already, and you really have narrowed down a search and like you really like this, but it's going to take, we will be very happy for you to come with your already researched thing and enter into the funding process. You don't have to pick something from the portal to be part of the funding. So we're trying to give you a leg up, and you should take that to front, and do your own research as you then narrow down what is your really specific thing you want to do.
So a good step for you is just to think about what kind of internship would you like, and then come and talk to one of us, and we can work with you and try and figure out what would work really well for you.
Final question. I don't want to keep you too long, but I also don't want to cut anything off. So I will close the video taping of this, which will allow you to scan through it if you want to actually hear live, and then the slide deck will be done separately, and we just look forward to walking forward through this semester in the spring with y'all. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
And if you have questions that you want to ask anyone individually, we're happy to stay